We're entering the holiday season, and with it comes consumerism and so much money spending. We're feeling this right now. Traveling to see relatives, gifts for our kids, festive experiences, and hosting. They're all really wonderful things that we want to do, but they all cost money. I'm not proud of this, but I struggle at times with feelings of panic when it feels like money is just flying out the window and I don't know how to make it stop. We felt some of this lately, and it's turned our minds to thinking of ways to save money here and there. We're going to show you some of the ways we save money here on our homestead, and also give you our perspective on the question, does homesteading actually save money? Needless to say, this weather is not ideal at all for pulling carrots, but the weather this week is supposed to dip down into the 20s and 30s, and I really just want to get these taken inside. In past years, I've left them out too long, and they ended up like just the tops got frozen that were out of the ground. I don't feel like mulching them deeply. I don't feel like taking any chances. So I'm just gonna pull these out. I'm gonna have to wash these because they're kind of muddy, which is annoying. But I've just kind of come to expect that in the fall. Soil doesn't dry out the way it does in the summertime. And I like to leave them out as long as possible. So I just spray them off and then let them dry completely before putting them into bags in the refrigerator. They're really small, like some of them are decent size, but this means they're just going to be really tender and sweet. We eat a lot of our fall carrots raw because they're just so good. Whether homesteading saves money or not is such a nuanced topic. There's so many variables in how people choose to homestead. Some people sink a lot of money into raised beds while others plant directly into the ground. Some put up expensive permanent fences while others just use electric. There's so many other things like structures you build, not to mention the price of the land that you're homesteading on, that are going to factor into how much money you're saving when growing your own food. Another thing that enters in is how much you would normally spend on food. What kinds and quality of foods are you wanting to replace with the food that you're growing on your land? If you're buying the cheapest hamburger at Walmart, you're probably not going to save money raising your own grass-fed and finished beef. But if you're spending a premium for local grass-fed beef, you'll save money raising your own. You have to compare apples to apples. You can't just compare your free-range eggs to the cheapest white eggs at Aldi and say you're not saving any money by raising your own eggs. It's not an equal comparison. I'm going to get out of the rain, take these things up on the porch, and the kids will help me cut the tops off. Then we'll spray them with the hose or something. I don't know how we'll wash them. Lay them out to dry in the basement. And then tomorrow probably I'll put them into bags. There are people who say it's more efficient and lucrative to work a job and buy their food rather than spend hours growing their own food. And they're not wrong. Depending what kind of job you have, it does make more sense financially to put in your office hours than to work in your garden. So much of it just has to do with what you personally want out of life, and you won't hear any judgment coming from us on that. Having said all of this, we lived off of a poverty level income for 10 years, yet we were eating the highest quality food that none of our friends could afford. And the reason being, we were growing our own local organic food. These windows will insulate this bed and make so that we can be eating these herbs and lettuces and stuff into like January. They're not going to be doing a ton of growing during the winter time, but it's amazing how much they actually do grow. The sun shines through the glass and it creates this great greenhouse effect in there. So there's a little bit of growth. Here I'm gonna just be taking some of these pieces off the top in the next couple days and using them up, because if the glass is pressed against them and it freezes, they'll definitely die. The weather isn't gonna be like crazy cold over the next couple weeks, and so I'm definitely gonna have these vented. You really want airflow in there as much as possible.
I haven't gotten very far on this chicken coop yet, but it is coming. I worked on it a good bit yesterday. It took me a while to figure out the height of all of these 2x4s, the studs, because I have it on an angle, but I got it figured out. It's been raining this morning. It's supposed to rain for the next few days, so I'm not gonna get much done very quickly now here either. I've saved so much money building stuff here, but I've also taken a lot more time than if I was to get somebody else to do something. So some stuff you really just gotta weigh out. I felt like at different times in our lives, we've had more time than money and sometimes more money than time. You just gotta figure out what makes sense. Some simple things like building a chicken coop. That's something you could do. This chicken coop right here, I'm gonna save a lot of money on just for something like this. An 8x12 chicken coop would probably cost, I don't know, $2,000, $3,000, something like that. And I'll be able to do it for about half of that doing it myself. And I could save even more money if I would have built this out of scraps. I've done a lot of stuff where I built stuff out of scraps, but that's something you also have to really weigh out. I feel like I've spent a lot of extra time, wasted a lot of time making stuff out of scraps when I should have just went and bought some lumber. This chicken coop here was the very first chicken coop that I built. This thing was totally free. I worked for a window company. I got a free door, a free window, built everything here out of scraps that I found. And it has lasted for now like 10 years. I felt like this one, I didn't waste a whole lot of time on because it was pretty straightforward, but there's some things that I spent a ton of extra time on because I was trying to piece together a lot of random pieces of wood, pieces of metal, stuff that didn't really go together very well, but I wanted to do it for free. And I did it for free, but it took a lot of extra time. Element is sponsoring today's video, and with the cold weather coming, they have their chocolate medley flavors available for a limited time. They're great to enjoy hot, and my favorite way is using the chocolate raspberry to make hot chocolate. I use a cup of milk, a tablespoon of cocoa, a tablespoon of maple syrup, and half a packet of Element. It's really good. It gives the same kind of vibe like when you eat one of those chocolate covered cherries. It's important to stay hydrated and replenish electrolytes in your body, especially when you're active and sweating. Cold Element is still a staple for my workouts and running, and it's used by professional athletes, Navy SEALs, FBI, Marines. And on the other hand, it's also used by moms to help with things like headaches and regulating hormones. Michelle likes to stay away from flavored stuff, even natural flavors, so she often uses unflavored Element in smoothies or even no-bake granola bars. You can try Element risk-free, and if you don't like it, you can give it away and they'll give your money back, no questions asked. And if you use our link, you'll get a free sample pack of 8 stick packs with any order, and that deal is only available through our link, so check it out below. So I'll give just an overview of what I'm doing here for those of you that are curious. This is just the inside part, and it's for their winter coop. Then I still want to build a run on the outside. But this inside part here is 8x12. I started off with a 2x6 around the bottom, and then I've got treated 2x4s for studs every 2 feet, and I'm going to be putting T111 plywood siding on the outside. I just didn't feel like dealing with more metal. So then I'm going to be putting 2x6 rafters across the top with a metal roof. This is going to get closed in yet. I'm going to put a couple shorter studs in here, and there's going to be a window going all the way across the front. That'll be really sweet. And there'll be a couple smaller windows on the sides, and this door here will be a 4-foot wide swinging door. I wanted a really big door to be able to put bedding in here and to get it out. So this is probably about all I'm going to get done for now. It's time for lunch. I want to show you something else real quick though, that is something that I really saved money on recently. This is 12x20, and if I was to get a storage barn that size, it'd be close to $10,000. And that's unfinished on the inside. You still have to drywall, run wiring to the flooring and all that kind of stuff. Just for the shell of this thing, the materials was about $3,000. And then to finish it all out, I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna have more than about $7,000 into it, which is the whole thing completely finished for less than what it would have cost just to get the shell pre-built and brought to my property. It's getting close to done in there. I'm still waiting for the drywall mudding to get finished. Then it's ready to paint, put the floor down, and get the trim up. And then it's done, I'm ready to move in. I cannot wait. This was definitely one of those places where it was not worth it to try to use a bunch of scrap lumber to try to get this done. It was a lot more efficient and faster. Even though it's taken me a long time, it would take me a lot longer to try to use scrap stuff. I did use some 70% off Home Depot lumber for the rafters, and I got windows from the window company that I used to work for free. Other than that, everything I bought new, and I feel like that was totally worth it. It was also totally worth it then to save some money by doing it myself.
One of the ways that I've been leaning into recently to save money that I think is often overlooked is homemade body care products. In past years, when we got our cow butchered, we just didn't think to ask the butcher to save the suet for us to make into tallow. We didn't know how to use it. I didn't grow up using tallow in the kitchen. My mom never used tallow in the kitchen. We always just used store-bought oils and butter and things like that. So it was just something new to me. My grandpa was a butcher and I'm sure that he knew all about it, but somehow that information just wasn't passed on to me. But in recent years, tallow has really made a comeback. People are seeing the importance in it, the benefits in it. And so it really got me thinking. So we started asking our butcher to give us the suet. We started learning how to render it and use it. And I'm never looking back. Absolutely love it, and it saves a ton of money. I have struggled with a lot of skin conditions, a lot of acne, and I have scoured the internet for things to help with acne. I just got overwhelmed by the amount of stuff online. So simplifying everything has been really, really comforting for me, and it's cut down on so many costs. This is the calendula oil that I infused this summer already. It's been sitting in my cupboard for months. Look at that amazing yellow. I used some of this to make soap and it made this beautiful yellow soap. Me and my daughter have been using this in our homemade tallow body butter, tallow balm, whatever you want to call it, and we're really liking it. It actually gives it a pretty strong smell, so you don't have to use as many essential oils. You don't have to use any oils if you don't want to, but we like just a little bit of scent. In the past couple years, I've been on this mission to find something, some kind of oil that's not like a commercial face product that would work on my face. I just wanted something simple, something really clean, and I decided to look into tallow because I heard so many amazing benefits of tallow. I bought a tiny little container. It was a little bit bigger than this. It was like a 2-ounce container of tallow, and it cost me $50 for 2 ounces of it, and it was supposed to be this great thing for my face. It was from a very reputable source, very reputable. Totally trust the company. I'm sure it was worth what I paid for it, whatever, but it did awful things to my face, to the point I was like, I'm gonna stick in there for a solid, at least a week. And it just sat on top of my skin. It broke me out so bad. I ended up taking a picture of my face, sending it to the company that I bought it from, and they gave me a refund within 5 minutes, which was really awesome. So just a disclaimer, I do not use tallow products on my face. Having said that, there's hundreds of people who use it on their face and love it, but just be aware that if you have really sensitive skin, very acne prone skin, tallow is not non-comedogenic. I found this out later from my naturopath and then also from some acne specialists like Emily Morrow on Instagram if you want to look that up. And so I use something else on my face, but I make this tallow balm just for arms and legs, hands. It's amazing for cracked, dry skin in the winter time. I don't use a real exact recipe for this tallow balm, but what I shoot for is about 1 tablespoon of some kind of oil. I'm going to be using this avocado oil. So 1 tablespoon of oil to about 1/4 cup of tallow. That's going to make a nice whipped creamy tallow balm. I'm just heating this tallow over a double boiler. I'm doing about 1 cup of tallow today, and so I'm going to add around 4 tablespoons of the oil to this. So for those of you wondering what I do actually use on my face, I actually finally found something after months and months of looking. Honestly, years I've been looking for something. I went on to Emily Morrow's Instagram page, and she has a list of non-comedogenic oils that will not break your face out. And the one that I decided to try was this organic hemp seed oil. I just get it on Amazon. Obviously, I don't grow this. This is just something I buy, but it just works really, really well. This will take off your makeup. I use it as a face wash. I also use it as a moisturizer. I threw away every single one of my facial body care products. This is the only thing that I use, and I could not be happier with it. I also use this. It's just a gua sha tool. This really helps to keep your skin looking young and supple and youthful and all the things, taking away those under eye bags. So real quick here, while my tallow is melting, this is another way that I am learning how to save a lot of money. I made another log of soap and it turned out so much better. It still has like a tiny bit of inconsistent color, just like around the corners, which has to do with it not gelling completely all the way through, which has to do with the temperature that it was, all the things. So I'm working on this. I talked with a friend this morning. She told me some ways to get around this, but this is a perfectly good bar of soap and it's beautiful and I'm so excited about it. So this will be coming to the channel sometime. When you buy a bar of soap like this, it costs upwards towards like $6 to $9. So just one log of soap like this would cost around $5, $10. Anywhere from like $50 to $60. Tirza and I have been making so many batches of this stuff. She can actually do it by herself. That's how easy this is. All right, so we're gonna use the calendula oil today. So you can put about 4 tablespoons of this in here. While the tallow is still nice and liquid, you wanna add your other oil plus your essential oils, mix it all up and then let it solidify just a little bit. Like you don't wanna put it in the fridge or it will get like tiny little chunks in it. You just wanna let it sit out on the counter for a while. If you were to just whip pure tallow, it would totally work. You just would not have a very fluffy end product, like it would be very buttery. Even with this, it's still pretty buttery. It's not like, anyway, it's not like a commercial lotion that you would get. Here's a batch that we made recently, and you can see it's like a very soft, smooth butter. And the more of a different kind of oil, like avocado oil, sweet almond, anything like that, the more of that you add into it, the lighter and fluffier it will become. It's gonna take a hot minute for this to solidify. I'm gonna guess around 30 to 40 minutes, so we're gonna have to do something else while this cools off a little bit.
Obviously, saving money is not nearly the only reason we do stuff like this. I'm really excited for the taste of this and just excited to be a part of the process of this. But this mead here, brewing it myself, will save a lot of money. I should be able to get about 4 bottles out of this, which if you were to buy that from the store would probably be at least around $60 or so. And I put maybe $15 into this bottle of mead here. You can see this airlock is moving, still very active. There's some bubbles coming up the side. It's only been down here for a couple weeks, so it's not ready, but I got it out. I'm gonna give it a little shake just to swirl things up so that everything gets in good contact. Then it'll stay down here for a little while yet.
This tallow is a little bit hardened now, still soft, but it's firm. The yellow color just comes from the calendula oil. So normally you would have a beautiful white body butter. This is gonna be a little bit yellow from the calendula oil. Look how amazing that turned out. It's really light and fluffy. I will say that as this like cools completely, it does definitely solidify a little bit more. But like the texture of this is just like a cloud. I like to store this tallow balm just in like a glass mason jar or something. Another thing that I like to do is whenever we travel, I like to have these tiny little jars of the tallow balm to take along. Some of my kids get really dry, cracked hands in the wintertime, especially with like a wood stove, the dry air. I also make my own deodorant. I have not made it yet with tallow. So far, I've been making it with, oh, it's been forever since I've made it. I think cocoa butter and some oil of some kind and baking soda. If you can't tolerate baking soda, this won't work for you, but this is literally the only natural deodorant that I can find that will work for me. Cody can't tolerate it, but my skin really loves this stuff. So hopefully I'll come up with a recipe for tallow deodorant someday as well. If you have really dry, cracked skin, I think it's really good to wash your hands with warm water, or wash the area that you want to put the tallow balm on. Wash it with warm water and then just pat your hands dry and then put the tallow on. It's like your hands kind of need the moisture for the tallow to soak in. Wow. And it takes a while for it to soak in. It definitely is a feel that takes some getting used to, but then once your skin is used to it, it just drinks it up, soaks it up, and it leaves your skin really, really soft. So I like to put this on my arms and legs after a shower. When my pores are open and my skin is soft, that's when it works the best for me. One of the skills that often comes with the homesteading lifestyle is cooking from scratch. And cooking from scratch saves us hundreds and hundreds of dollars. We also buy things in bulk, which makes it even cheaper. You can save quite a bit of money buying like oatmeal and flour, vanilla, sugar, all of those things in bulk. You can save tons of money. These are sourdough gingerbread cookies made with organic cane sugar and whole grain flour from our basement. Go like that. By the way, I got this recipe for these sourdough gingerbread cookies off of Lisa Bass's Farmhouse on Boone blog. I really like them. They're definitely not the kind that don't spread. So if you want them to be exact and perfect, then these probably aren't your cookie. But they taste really good and they're so easy. I've been finding that with sourdough, like cookies and anything like that, basically you just mix the dough and store it in the refrigerator for a few days and then it's good to go. So it's really easy, you just have to learn to think ahead. I don't often do the whole refrigerator thing, but because we were gonna film today, I thought it would be a perfect time to try it out, and they turned out really cool.
The question of whether homesteading saves money or not is completely subjective. It depends on what parts of the lifestyle you choose to embrace and what your alternative would be. For us, that's not even really the point. We did start growing our own food because we couldn't afford to buy all the organic stuff, but now we choose this lifestyle for benefits that go far deeper than money. Things like family, fresh air, and freedom are worth far more than anything you can measure. We do have a pretty crazy story though of how we went from completely broke and living in a basement apartment to building a house and having it paid off in less than 10 years. I'll put that video on the screen for you to click to watch next. I can smell it a little bit.